All right, this is recording 875. The name of this podcast is Listen Next 875. It's a part of my podcast series called Speaking to the CIA. You can find me at speakingtothecia.com or you can find me at christinastation918.com. Okay, so I apologize for not getting this recording up sooner, but I was exhausted. I'm sorry, she's controlling my speech. As you know, her using AI on me, it's like a constant chat room in my head. It's insane. And I'm trying to ignore the people impaling my brain with this stolen technology, and I'm trying to also pay attention to what they're up to. Okay, so it's very, very, very exhausting on my brain. So I'm I was watching the news while I was decoding this from watching the news. They were reporting the news, and I'm Gene did it. This is how I know Gene did it. And I'm communicating in mental telepathy. And so then I note it on my phone because I'm going to make a podcast to make sure you know what I know. And I'm they know that Gene did it. They know I'm going to make a podcast, so they're already ahead of the game, so they're not absolutely dependent on my podcast, which is what I don't want you to be, which I know you're not, thank God. At first, in the beginning, it was like that, but it's getting you guys up and knowing what Gene has done for the past 60 years and her string of crime and everything she's trying to get away with. And so that you guys are up, then you guys are obviously enabled to solve any crime or connect any crime anywhere. And at the same time, I remind you politely, I'm asking you again to please arrest Gene Roberts. And I literally mean Gene Roberts. Gene Jernigan Roberts of Milton, Florida. She is the ringleader. Okay, so all right. So let me go over this. Okay, so this is how the weekend went. This is crazy. Okay, so the Twin Falls shooting. Okay. And I want to bring up the fire, too, because it's... Okay. The shooting... Okay, hang on. Okay, I got my notes messed up. There is a Twin Falls shooting and a Twin Falls fire. I think, because there's a fire in Seattle at the same time. And there was a shooting. Okay, so... Twin Falls shooting, Idaho, at the In-N-Out. Okay, so that's connected. You're going to see my previous podcast. So that's connected to 29 Palms. Okay, and 29 Palms is a Marine Corps base in Southern California. Okay, so she's making a 29 Palms reference because everything wraps around my life. Because I was joking with my dad when I lived in Slidell, because he loves palm trees. And I was like, you should put 29 of them around the house. And he was like, what for? And I was like, for 29 palms. And he's like, oh my God. And he's like, no. But anyway, so it's just a funny talking, whatever. And then, so she knows that because she's been stalking us, spying us. She happens to be dating my dad, but when she's not around, she is always around, okay? She uses ICE, which is artificial intelligence that she stole, and she's been using it since the 60s. She arranged the relationship to my dad. She arranged my relationship. She has stalked our families all our lives. And no matter what you say, when it comes to her and her people, she comes out the goddess queen that we've all been waiting for, and I come out the Antichrist. She tells a bunch of lies about me. I bust her for her lies and go, no, you don't. This is what you did. This is how I know you did it. And I know you're paying people to lie for you. And even me reporting it, you're depending on the fact that people will go, oh my God, Christina sounds like a conspiracy theorist. Oh my God, we'll just brush it off to crazy. No, that's a part of your theme too, with your mad scheme, your Alice in Wonderland mad scheme. Change the definition of Alice in Wonderland, change the definition of mad, use all different forms of the word mad. I know everything about you, Jean. I've decoded your crimes now for 10 years. 10 years. I'm an expert. And they were even talking in mental telepathy in TV, where they throw voices to people on TV, but sometimes there's direct control. But anyway, they go, this is astounding. Like, these people that are smarting off to us regarding you, which they're lying about you, and they're just smarting off like they're know-it-alls, get all of their intelligence from you, and then they smart off to us like they're the be-all, end-all, and have all the intelligence, when they're just getting it from me. And we're connected, and, no, sorry, she's controlling my speech. So, the FBI is saying, we're connected to you. Not you, Jean, you are not in the FBI. Please do not insert a visual of yourself when I say FBI. Now she's inserting a visual of the U.S. Navy. Anyway, so they're like, we're connected to you. I mean, we've got connections now. So this is just, it's ridiculous. But this is what's going on. But then again, you have to be until decisions are made and arrests can be made and this can be stopped. I mean, you obviously have to be connected to all lanes so you can know what's going on at all times. So, and they probably are like, the more they smile in your face and smooth you over and the more you'll let them get away with it. No. You've committed terrorism. You're running trafficking rings. So anyway, okay, so the Twin Falls shooting in Idaho, so that goes to the 29 Palms connected in San Diego. Okay, so there's a couple different there's more things she did here. Okay, so remember when I told you at Thanksgiving at my dad's, and this is about 10 years ago, she came in. I know her personally, but I don't know her that well. Like, I've met her, like, briefly, like, in, like, the grand scheme of all time. Like, I barely even know her. But she's been stalking me all my life. I've decoded the heck out of it. It's insanity. And my dad's side of the family can't stand her either. And the only reason that they don't have more access or control or ability, or anybody providing them ability to be able to communicate with me to say, hey, Christina, we're out here. We know that Gina's stalking you. We know that Gina's spreading lies, making money off it, and committing terrorism. We follow your podcast. We know what's going on. So because Jean and her people get mad and will commit terror attacks. So they don't want more terror attacks committed. So there's no anybody like the FBI out, like, connecting to my actual family. Hey, why don't you come here, you know, to the FBI buildings for the day? We'll give you guys all time with Christina for a few hours. They can't even do that. And I think Jean Roberts has been trying to pulling a game stunt, and then she pulls people in, and the people she's pulling in may not even be people that I know, are likely not. They're likely people impersonating people that I know, and then she cuts them, and then she impersonates them, and she runs little stunts and gags in my brain. It's ridiculous. So, anyway, so a couple more things that she did here. Okay, so she brought a dish. I remember I told you it was the white rectangular dish. And she goes, I don't know who gave this to me. She goes, somebody just gave it to me. It was on a pier. I think she said it was on a pier, is what she said. It was on a pier. I think she said it was on a pier. P-I-E-R. I think she said that. She said, somebody gave this to me. I don't know who it was, but it's Tiffany. And she was all, like, exuberant about it, okay? So people got very mad at her about this dish and her exuberance, and got mad at her for a whole bunch of everything. Now, go through my podcast so you can look up anything that has to do with Tiffany or dish, so you can index it, pull up everything that has to do with Tiffany or Dish, and then you've got everything, so I don't have to like re-go through everything. Okay, so she's using the Dish here, okay, and she's exacting revenge is what she's doing, okay? So she's using TIF, okay? So Twin Falls, so the TIF. And oh, I just noticed this too. And then the W. Okay, so when I was in grade school, like I told you, she's stalked me all my life. When I was in grade school, I lived in Globe, Arizona, besides when we moved to Chandler, and I was in 6th grade. And then from there, we stayed in the valley. But in my early school years, I went to grade school. I was in grade school in Globe, Arizona. I went to East Globe Elementary, and then I went to Holy Angels in 5th grade. Okay, so in grade school, there was a girl in my class, and her name was Tiffany. Okay, so fast forward in time, when I started junior high, I was going to Willis Junior High, and again, see the W there in Twin. I'm telling you, she pre-planned to do the World Trade Center attack way in the early 1900s. I've decoded it way before I was born, and this is all a part of that. She's bragging that she got away with it, and she's just out committing more crime, and she's pretending to be people that she's not committing the crime. I can hear this going on in my brain. Okay, so anyway, so fast forward to Willis Junior High. So I get in this, sorry, she's controlling my speech. So I'm in class, one of my classes that I signed up for. I go to class one day, it was the beginning of the school year. I go to class and I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. And I was freaking out because Tiffany was in my class, and I'm in Chandler, Arizona. And we went to grade school in Globe, like way years before. But here we are in 7th grade together in Chandler, Arizona. And I'm like, that's weird. Which, it's still weird. And you can see Jean is quite obsessed. So anyway, this all connects, and there's a whole bunch more that goes to this. So anyway, so she's using my grade school classmate, and then she's making a reference to the World Trade Center attack. She's making a reference to Willis Junior High. She is exacting revenge based on the Dish. You have to see all my podcasts on that. And then she probably is using Bangers and MASH, okay, because this was a shooting, okay? So MASH is in this, okay? So I've decoded Bangers and MASH before. That goes all the way back to the early 70s, where I've seen it come out in the ciphers that I've decoded, Bangers and MASH, from early 70s, okay? So she used a lot of stuff like, because it's English, there's a lot of, like when I decoded Titanic, I decoded out Royal Navy, and then Jean proceeded on this stint for a few years to try to blame the Royal Navy in England. And I was like, the Royal Navy did not do that, Jean. Why do you set out on a mission to go blame other people? When you doing that, you're telling on yourself. Like, why are you doing this? Like, you're, oh my gosh. I can't believe what she's gotten away with. I can't. Okay, so anyway, as you can see on my podcast on Titanic, I've got a lot of Titanic in here, and then also at Tulsa Police Headquarters, and I may still have a lot more with me that I don't have online and that I don't have at Tulsa Police Headquarters. But anyway, so the Bangers and MASH, there in the early 70s, the ciphers I decoded, there was bloody, like, you know how you curse, how English people, when they curse, they say that bloody something, they add that in. Okay, so she used bloody a lot for cursing, and then she used bloody pig, and then she also used Bangers and MASH. I decoded all of that out. So it's all ciphers around my childhood where she's planning to do the World Trade Center attack, and it's ridiculous. There's all kinds of stuff going on in it because she's bragging about all different events that some of it may be past and some of it may be future. For instance, part of it that I decoded is about Seoul, Korea. Okay, and I'm decoding this, and I'm like, why is Seoul in here? Seoul is constantly in here. What is going on in Seoul? And I'm like, I don't even know where to begin to find out. But everything wraps around my life, so I have the ability or the knowledge to find out because she wants to steal it from me. So it's not like I don't know what it is. I just got to remember or figure out what it is. And I'm like, I don't know anything about Seoul, Korea. Well, then find out, oh my gosh, looking back in time, the Olympics were in Seoul, Korea. That's probably likely what she was referring to. Maybe she planned a terror attack or there was a terror attack thwarted there because the Olympics were in Los Angeles, which my grandparents went to, and the Olympics were in Atlanta, and there was a terror attack thwarted there. And my last husband grew up in Georgia before moving to Texas. I think Arkansas to Georgia and then to Texas. And okay, so when they lived in Georgia, the Atlanta Olympics were going on and that terror attack was thwarted. Okay, so she has them like intermingled or intertwined, okay? And oh, look, even that. Oh my God. His dad at the time was working for AT&T. So attack. So whatever terror attack she planned there and then got thwarted, she did the terror attack. So you might want to go look back at how it was thwarted, and I bet you she tried to racket it. So anyway, so Bangers and MASH is in this. So I'm pretty sure Bangers and MASH is in this because MASH is in this. And then here's another thing that she's referring to. So I decoded mesothelioma. I can't spell it. The commercials you see on TV. Okay, about cancer, veterans, military that got cancer at Camp Lejeune. Okay, I decoded all of that out. She committed that crime too. She gave them cancer. So I've got it decoded out. I've even got it online on my Pinterest. So all you got to do is go through my podcast or go through my Pinterest, and you'll see you can figure it out easily now. I mean, now that everybody knows what's going on, looking back, you're going, oh my God, she did this too. So anyway, so Camp Lejeune. Okay, so that connects up here to the Twin Falls shooting. But then she has, as arrangements are made in the White House, and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, because I know the White House knows what's going on. So I don't know if they're being controlled, like ICE controlled, or if they're moving themselves there to say they know, to send out a signal that they know what's going on. Because I can't see that they would allow themselves to be ICE controlled at this point, knowing that Gene ICEs everyone. So I don't know the schematic there. But anyway, Trump was talking at Camp David. Okay, so that would go to Camp Lejeune, and then that would go to the Twin Falls shooting in Idaho. Okay, so then it continues on. So Russia's Interior Ministry said 3 people were killed and 15 injured in the explosion, which took place near an outdoor seating area in the Balzi Rossi restaurant in Kudrinskaya Square. Okay, so this is what she's doing here. I was talking to my son about taking my grandchildren back to school shopping, okay? And I was talking about where the stores that we could go. And so I had mentioned Ross Dress for Less. Okay, so she committed this crime and used the Ballsy Rossi restaurant using the Ross Dress for Less store in a theme. Okay, so she used that. And then the Ross store, RS, and then USSRRSS. So see, you can see Gene Roberts committed this crime. Then another thing that she did is she's again referencing Bashar al-Assad. Okay, when I lived in Oklahoma City, you have to go through my entire podcast. I don't have to re-go through everything with you. She claimed, and this was later on after the fact, this wasn't at the time in the web of lies that she was spreading at the time. That was a whole different set of lies. This is later on, the lies, when she was confronted, she told even more lies. Okay, the terrorism that she committed in Oklahoma City 3 or 4 years ago when I lived there, when she said the whole block had to die, and she doused the city in AI bioterrorism, and she said the whole block that I lived on had to die. Okay, so, and then I was talking to you about her stealing troops over in Pakistan and everything else. Okay, and how everything was flipping over, like she was somehow getting more control of the AI, and the military and intelligence connections I was losing, and it was more going to Gene Roberts. Okay, so anyway, she blamed Bashar al-Assad for that, and Bashar al-Assad did not do that. Also, putting how she used hieroglyphs to put black crosses on my son's apartment floor, and then she put polka dotted J's all over the floor using not hieroglyphics, I'm sorry, lithographs, and then the hoof prints all over the floor. And I'm sitting there going, I hope my son sees this. I mean, then he knows I'm not losing my mind. I mean, I've told him what's going on, but all he's got to do is look at the floor and he's going to see this everywhere. I mean, this woman is insane. She is literally Satan. Look what she is doing. So anyway, so she blamed that on Bashar al-Assad. That was Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. That was not Bashar al-Assad. So she's bringing him up again here, and then she's combining Bashir with Bash's grocery store in Arizona. And then she's using the Bashir, the Bashes, and the Ballsy. So all of that goes together, and then it just goes on and on and on and on. I mean, Jesus. Okay, so the next thing that she did was she used Pete Hegseth. Okay, so Pete Hegseth heads up the Department of War. So at Camp David, he was sitting next to Donald Trump on the panel, and it looked like he had Kool-Aid. I don't know what he was drinking, but it looked like Kool-Aid is what it looked like. Okay, so what she's doing there is she's making a reference to dish and drink. So the dish goes to Twin Falls shooting, and then the drinks, she's talking about Pete Hegseth with the drinks with the drink on the panel. Okay, so also Ballsy Blaze. And then the Spokane, Washington wildfire. Okay, so the wildfire, not in Idaho, the wildfire is in Spokane. Okay, now I've got my notes here. I had them before, but I'm trying to work my way through this. So the shooting was in Idaho, and then that's connected to the Spokane. It's connected to the crime she committed in Russia, and it's connected to the wildfires that she committed in Spokane, Washington. Okay, so Spokane, Spoke, again, she's making a Silent War reference. And then you also know when I lived in New York, no, I didn't live in New York, I was living in Bartlesville. I'm sorry, she's controlling my speech. When I lived in Bartlesville, it was the year before 2001. You're going to see all my podcasts on that. All right, we went to Woodstock and we went to Candlestock, and there was a shop there at Woodstock called Old Spokes Home, and I took a picture of it because I thought it was just so neat. It was like a old hippie shop. Okay, so she's probably referencing that. And she's probably making a New York reference, and she's probably making a Woodstock reference. Okay, and then also note the police chief of Twin Falls. She did this also. This is punny to her, which means this is arranged. I'm not saying the police chief did this, because you should see what she did to our police chief here in Tulsa. And you should see what she did to the former police chief in New Orleans. Like, she's controlling who's going in, who's police chief everywhere. So it's so much everywhere that you probably could go anywhere in the United States and examine every police chief, and you're going to find Gene Roberts has been ICE controlling them. Okay. So anyway, he kind of looks like Alec Baldwin. Okay. So Alec Baldwin, so Baldwinsville is next to Buffalo. It's between Buffalo and Syracuse, New York. Okay. So you can see that she's doing that. And then the Alex reference, and then 9/11, and then she used Flashdance as a theme. And then also Fan the Flames. She's used, you know how I was talking about how she used Fan the Flames? She's also using Egging On. So the balls is eggs, is what she's using, and she's saying egging on. So she's having a fit. Another thing that she did was, you know the phrase, somebody said this on TV, and I was like, they were like showing me, she did this too. I was like, oh my God, she sure did. So, you know how the phrase, get off the grid? Like when you say you're gonna go live in the mountains, and you're just gonna get away from society, you're gonna get off the grid. Okay, so she used that phrase in reference to, that is encoded in, when I was going to Red Mountain High School when I was a senior, and we would break into the auditorium and we would jump on the net, the orchestra net, and I decoded all that, and that leaks all the snake pits and everything else. Okay. So she's also using get off the grid. She's also saying that there. So you're going to want to examine more of that podcast and seeing what else is there. And it's probably a Ted Kaczynski reference. It's probably what it is. So anyway, I got a lot more here. Let me end this because I'm at 30 minutes, and then let me do another one. Okay?